Hi, Mustard Seed Preschool, and welcome to January's edition of Chapel. Um, I hope many of you remember me from last year. For those that don't, I am Pastor Nate. And today we're going to talk about peace, as you've been talking about in your classrooms. And not just peace in general, although that's good and important. We're going to talk about peace that comes from God. But first, I would invite you to go ahead and pause the video and to talk with your brothers and sisters, your classmates, or your teachers, or your parents about what you think peace means right now. Well, I hope you had a good discussion because I think peace is really, really important. Because sometimes we need to think about the things that scare us or disturb our peace or make us feel not at peace. And so I'll share one story from my life. I have a daughter that's about your age. She's 4 years old, and she sleeps in her own big girl bed at night by herself. And occasionally she wakes up in the middle of the night and it's dark and she hears a noise and she's scared because she's alone. She has fear. But generally, we find out that that fear is just one of our cats making the noise or someone rustling around in the house that's either my wife or I. And so it's just nothing big deal at all. But she has this fear of the unknown, this fear and uncertainty of the worst that it could possibly be. And so one of the things that we've been talking about is what does it look like to stop and to consider and to pray and to invite God into that fear and instead be at peace. And so today I want to read a story from you about overcoming fears. This is from the story of Matthew 8:23, when Jesus and his disciples were out on the boat. And it says, Jesus and his disciples were sailing across a big lake when suddenly the clouds got dark and it started to rain. It rained harder and harder. The wind blew and huge waves crashed into the boat. The disciples were terrified. What if they fell overboard? What if their boat sank? But Jesus was sleeping peacefully. They woke him up and cried, "Please help us, Jesus. This storm is going to sink our boat." And Jesus told them, "Do not be afraid. Have faith in what I can do." Then he stood up in the boat and ordered the wind and the sea to be calm. Immediately the sky cleared. The wind was quiet and the waves disappeared. The disciples were amazed. "Look how powerful Jesus is," they said. "Even the wind and the waves do what he says and obeys." Everyone feels afraid sometimes, even me. We might feel afraid when it's dark or if there's a big storm outside. It can be scary to try something new and we don't know what's going to happen. But God isn't afraid of anything. God has promised to take care of us, and he always keeps his promises. If you feel afraid, try praying and telling God how you feel. He loves each one of us very much, and when we tell him how we feel, he can remind us that he is always with us and that we are never alone. He is much stronger than anything that can possibly frighten us. And so the invitation today is to learn how to talk to God when we're afraid instead of letting our worry grow and grow and grow. And so in the invitation to talk to God, we can say, "Dear God, thank you for promising to protect me. Sometimes I get scared in my life, but I know you're not scared of anything. So please help me when I feel afraid. Amen." And so some questions to think about as we think about the story, and you can pause and talk about them with your mom and dad or your brothers and sisters right now. But what do you think might be scary in this picture? Is it the waves? Is it the lightning? Is it the little kid looking out at the darkness? What do you think that Jesus' disciples were afraid of when they were in the boat? Probably just the unknown. They were scared that the waves were going to tip their boat over. They were scared that they were not powerful enough to do anything. And so I wonder for you, what does it feel like when you get scared, when you feel nervous? What is it that makes you feel afraid in your life? And so we invite you today during chapel to think about, why do you think talking to God can make you feel better when you're afraid? How do you think that can give you peace? Because this month we're focusing on peace. And peace is what happens when we're able to get beyond our fear and to get back to a sense of normalcy in our lives. And so in our Bible story today, from the book of Daniel, if you want to read it from the 10th chapter in verse 19, Daniel is afraid. He's very, very afraid because he's afraid of things that are going on in his city. He's afraid of potential violence or how he might be treated as an outsider in this place of Persia where he's at. And specifically, Daniel decides to fast and to shut down life for 21 days. He just wants to focus on trying to find peace. And the story tells us that God meets him in that place, that God meets him in his prayer. And God tells him, "Do not fear, Daniel, greatly beloved, for you are safe. Be strong and courageous and at peace." When he spoke to me, I was strengthened and said, "Let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me and given me peace today." And so the invitation to you, boys and girls, is to consider, what would it look like to seek and to find God in those moments of fear? What does it look like to look to God for our ultimate peace? Bad things could still happen, scary things could still happen, but the invitation is to consider how we can look to God, how we can talk to God in those scary moments. So I hope you have a great week, and I hope you have a great month, and I hope that this is helpful in considering what it looks like to seek peace in your life. Have a great one, everyone.